This is a monster zucchini. Today I'm going to be talking about 5 different ways I can use or store these vegetables. Let's dive in. So we have here carrots, cauliflower, beets, kale, summer squash, also known as yellow straight neck squash, and zucchini. It's just Chris and I, so obviously this is a little more squash than we can eat in a week. What am I going to do with all of this abundance? So the 5 ways that I'm going to use these right here, I'm going to bake some, cook some in soups, freeze, dehydrate, and shred. This isn't really the size that I would harvest my zucchini, preferably. It is the size I did harvest it, but I would prefer to harvest them about this big. Look, it's like the size of my forearm. You know, when you've got a squash this big, what are you going to do with it? One of our absolute favorite ways of cooking these is something that I've discovered just recently. It's called making a squash boat out of it. Slice it in half lengthwise, scoop the seeds out, fill that space with a spaghetti sauce mixture with meat in it. We will use our pork sausage from our own pigs that we raised. You can do meatless if you prefer. Top it with a little cheese, put some breadcrumbs in it if you like the crunch, which I do. Pop it in the oven, probably around 400 degrees, 250, 400, I don't know. I'm sure there's a recipe out there, until the squash is cooked through. That's it. It's so super easy peasy and delicious, and we both like it that way. One of our core values on our homestead is to lead a more organic and sustainable lifestyle with closer ties to our food and our land. We want to know where our food comes from. We want to know that it hasn't been sprayed with harsh chemicals, so everything that we grow here is grown organically. Something else that I'm going to do with these large summer squash is, so I'll probably cut it here about where the neck is, and then I'm going to slice it in thin lengthwise slices and freeze it, and those can be used later as lasagna, so like as a vegetable lasagna or an eggplant lasagna, only with squash instead of the noodles. Well, of course we're going to run some of these through the food processor, right? We're going to shred them and then we're going to freeze them. Now I know that y'all are thinking about zucchini bread. Who wouldn't? I love zucchini bread and zucchini muffins. But did you know you can also cut those shreds up or chop them a little more fine, and you can hide them in taco meat, in meatloaf, in any dish that you want to go a little bit further. One other way I'm going to cut them up before freezing is I'm going to dice it, and then later I'll throw those diced or cubed squash and zucchini pieces into soup over the winter. It'll make a lovely addition, a way to get some nutrition into your diet in the winter when you don't have fresh veggies that you can just walk out to the garden and pick. I'm going to do something with this kale that I also do with the squash, and it's going to be a little bit of an experiment. I'm going to try to make kale chips and zucchini chips and squash chips in the dehydrator. So I'm going to cut them into bite-sized pieces. I will just slice these in rounds, dip them in a variety of different seasonings, and throw them in the dehydrator for 24 hours, and then we'll check it out and see how they taste. It's going to be my first time doing that, and I'm super excited about it. Something else that we do with kale, and I forgot to mention this, so here's a bonus 6th thing, is we love green juice at our house. So Chris likes one that's got cucumber and lemon and celery and different things in it. I like kale, apple, carrot, with a little bit of ginger in there. So we will be juicing our greens for sure. And then what I do, because I don't want to make juice every day. Making juice is a lot of work. Cutting up all the vegetables, cleaning the juicer afterwards, it can be quite taxing. So what I'll do is I'll make one big batch for each of us, so about half a gallon each, and then I'll pour that into pint size or smaller jars, and then we just thaw out, we freeze it, and then we thaw out a portion at a time, and that portion will last a day or two in the fridge. It's a really, really good way to get your veggies in that's flavorful they're so good. I actually start, like, when I smell it, can't really smell it frozen, but when I smell it when I'm juicing, I start craving it. Green juice is so good, and we notice the benefits right away. Some of those benefits of juicing that we experience are clearer thinking, higher energy. It's like a little energy boost without caffeine. It's really amazing how much good stuff can be packed into a little bit of juice, and it's a good way to get your greens in. If you don't really care for the taste of kale or spinach or chard in other dishes, then you can drink it in a juice, and you can kind of mask the flavor by adding a little bit of carrots or beets or apples, something sweet to it. One of my other favorite ways to eat beets, I've got two other favorite ways. So one is clean it off, cover it in olive oil, some sea salt, put it in foil, roast it in the oven. When you take it out, the skin just slides right off, and the beet has absorbed all that flavor. Super, super good, like a side dish. The other thing I'll do is I will steam it, and then take the skin off, cut it into chunks, and then I will let that cool, and I will add that to salads. I really enjoy beet cooked that way in my salads. Back in the kitchen today, still working on the zucchinis and the yellow squash. I mean, I have to plant them farther apart next year so that I can find them before they're this big. I wanted to tell you about the ones that I took out of the dehydrator, the different chips. So we made Parmesan chips, we made nacho chips, and we made ones from a recipe that were like olive oil and seasoning, and really did not care for the flavor of the Parmesan chips nor the nacho chips. They're just, Parmesan ones are too bland. The other ones were just kind of icky. The seasoned ones from the recipe had a really nice flavor, but they're kind of rubbery. What I'm going to do, hopefully to correct that, I'm going to slice them thinner, and I'm going to dehydrate them longer and see if I can get them nice and dry and crisp like chips should be. Freezer. We have 2 bags of yellow squash shredded for breakfast. We have 4 bags of shredded zucchini for zucchini bread. We have about 3 zucchini and 3 squash sliced thin. I'm gonna toss these in olive oil and seasonings and dehydrate them, try to go a little bit longer, see if I can get them a little crispier, see if I like them. And then we have left several whole. These we will either oven roast or saute. In addition to this, we have more in the freezer and more in the garden still to come, but hopefully I can catch them a little bit smaller, and we'll have a lot more fresh eating that way. Thank you for watching. Have a great week.